The deities Baal and Tammuz were worshipped by the ancient Moabites under the names Chemosh and Molech. We see that the names changed, but the worship remained identical. The ancient Moabites would celebrate a public child mass, a public child sacrifice during the winter solstice during December 25th. Building up to this most anticipated time of year, all the parents would compile long wish lists that they would like to see in the next year. Then they would bring the infants that were born within that year to the idol Chemosh or Molech. The priest of Chemosh or Molech would stoke large fires inside of the hollow metal idol of the deity. The parent would bring their child screaming to the lap of this deity and lay their child in the lap of Molech, who wore the Phrygian cap that we see that Santa Claus wears to this day, the same cap that Mithra wore, and they would lay their screaming child in the arm of this deity while they begin to profess their long list of desires for the year. Now today we don't see that people are sacrificing their children to Molech, but we do see that they bring their screaming infants, their screaming children, and lay them into the lap of a complete stranger dressed up like a mighty one who they call Santa Claus. And this child is usually screaming their guts out because they're so afraid of this man, and they probably sense the darkness and the demonic forces that are at work. Children, infants, hate Santa Claus, and the proof is in the pictures. Now, of course, after a few years, the child will begin to love Santa Claus and look at Santa Claus as an all-supreme, all-wise, all-knowing, giving deity of prosperity, just as the ancient Moabites looked at Molech and Chemosh. He knows when you are sleeping, and he knows when you are awake. In fact, he is all-knowing. He is immortal. He has no beginning and no end. He compiles a list of names on a scroll for the good and the bad children. He rewards the good children with gifts, and he punishes the bad children with lumps of coal, reminiscent of the flames of Molech. He answers their prayers and their petitions. He flies on a magical chariot, just like Mithra, Sol Invictus, and Odin before him. In fact, he is a deity of prosperity worshipped by the people of the world. And it's amazing that Christian parents teach their children that gifts come from this magical, all-knowing being, making him a deity. And they will lie to their children and tell them that he exists. And while they're young, they will believe it with all of their heart until finally they are crushed under the realization that their parents had tricked them. And now they will question everything that their parents will ever teach them about the scriptures because of this innocent white lie, as they say. Santa and his elves have a very dark past. Santa is identified as an elf in most of the world. The Celts believed that the elves were witches and wizards, and they were identified by their pointy or Phrygian caps. And they were the teachers of the dark arts. Webster's dictionary describes an elf as a wandering spirit, a fairy, a hobgoblin, an imaginary being which our rude ancestors supposed to inhabit unfrequented places and in various ways to affect mankind. Also, an evil spirit or a devil. Satanist and New Age guru H.P. Blavatsky states that elves are disembodied spirits used in magic and sorcery and are the principal agents in seances. In places like Austria, Hungary, Germany, Italy, and elsewhere, Santa Claus is identified by his original name, which is Sinterklaas. And there are variations of Sinterklaas throughout Europe. Some variations have Sinterklaas riding on a magical flying goat. Other versions have him riding on a magical flying white horse. Either way, he is always accompanied by dark helpers. Usually they are referred to as the Krampus. And the Krampus is a half goat, half man demon that goes with Sinterklaas from house to house. In the 1500s, Santa Claus became a kind old man who gave gifts and flew on his magical chariot and was accompanied by these dark helpers or blackjacks. He was Christianized as a saint by the name of Nicholas, supposedly based on the saint of Myra in Turkey, who was legendary. He would leave gifts under the sacred tree on his birthday if you had been good, but if you had not, his demons, his Krampuses, would either abduct you or beat you with sticks. Saint Nicholas supposedly captured Satan and called him by various names: the Krampus, Baalzebub, Zwartdeit, or the Black Peter, and Neck Ruprecht. And these were just some of the names. In some of the cultures, Santa Claus was dropped altogether, and the only remaining figure was the Krampus, which was kept and known as Weihnachtsmann, which means Santa Claus in the Germanic languages. In other words, in some cultures, Santa Claus is known to be Satan himself, who is the Krampus.
You think Christmas, you think Santa. And if you think Santa, why wouldn't you think of a bunch of guys who dress up as Satan and try to hit you with a chain? Welcome to Amazing Austria and our first topic, Krampus. Here in Austria, Santa Claus is called Nikolaus and comes pre-Christmas on December 6th. And he doesn't care if you've been naughty or not, because he has a helper who deals with all the kids who did not behave. His name is Krampus, and he's basically the devil. Krampus shows up all over Austria on the eve of St. Nikolaus Day. He's often accompanied by Santa and some angels, and you will most likely meet him on events called Krampuslauf, where the whole village gathers around to meet the not quite friendly Christmas demon. Also, in some areas, he and Nikolaus go from door to door, so there is no point in hiding. If you've been talking back to your parents or not doing your chores, he will find you. Depending on the region, Krampus either carries a birch or a metal chain. And yes, he is going to use it. But still, Austrians love their Krampus. Therefore, you will find a selection of chocolate Krampuses in every supermarket in late November and early December. No Nikolaussackerl, the gift bag St. Nikolaus hands out, is complete without Krampus. And even if chocolate Nikolaus and chocolate Krampus are manufactured by the same company, there is no doubt that Krampus tastes a tiny bit better. There is also another Austrian tradition that is rooted in pagan customs called Schierperchten. Because why just have one diabolic figure to scare your children if you can have two?
Lucifer's true identity as Satan is revealed as the anagram, a transposition of letters to obscure it. Blinds, as esoterics call them, include scrambling the letters of a name to hide the true meaning of a word from the uninitiated. And if you, in case you're not aware, the uninitiated means the ones who are not illuminated, the average general public who has no clue as to what is really going on here. It's interesting that Mrs. Ripplinger also raises a red flag about the anagram Santa. Gods of the New Age include Sanatan, and whatever that says. New Agers say each name is concealed anagrammatically and are aliases, and are an anagram used for occult purposes. Is Santa, the great usurper of Christ's attention at Christmas, an anagram? Old Nick is listed among the fallen angels or devils in the Dictionary of Fallen Angels. Scholars concur that Christ was born in the fall of the 4th day of the Feast of Tabernacles. December 25th is actually the feast in honor of the birth of the son of the Babylonian Queen of Heaven, later called Saturna by the heathen Romans, or Saturnalia. Okay, so the Feast of Tabernacles is somewhere usually around, September, October. So you can see, when the true date of Christ's birth was. Nothing to do with December 25th. It's actually a Roman pagan, / Babylonian festivity known as Saturnalia, which is all out debauchery that takes place in that time. It is also worth noting Santa is Spanish for holy. Santa is also from the Latin word sanctus, which means also saintly, holy. Our English word saint, sanctify, come from Santa. Sounds like Satan's "I will be like the Most High" plan is in action. Let them praise thy great and terrible name, for it is holy. That's from Psalm 99, verse 3. God's name is called holy over 40 times in the King James Bible. Holy Claus? The name Santa Claus is also derived from the Dutch Sinterklaas, which was also a form of Saint Nicholas. So what about Claus, his last name? Is Claus another anagram for Lucas? It's no secret Lucas and Lucius are New Age code words for Lucifer. The Alice Bailey founded New Age occult publishing company was originally called Lucifer Publishing Company, but in 1924 the name was cleverly changed to Lucius Trust. By the way, the Lucifer-worshipping Lucius Trust is a major player in the works of the United Nations, formerly located in the United Nations building, but now located on prime time 1200 Wall Street. For any of you out there who don't believe that the United Nations is evil, well, this, is one confirmation that it is. All right. So Claus sounds a lot like Claus, just like Santa sounds a lot like Satan. Maybe Santa Claus means Satan's claws, like a lion's claws, perhaps? Be sober, be vigilant, because your adversary, the devil, as a roaring lion, walketh about, seeking whom he may devour. That's from 1 Peter 5:8. So we can see what's really going on here.
And these are the satanic origins of the anglicized Santa Claus, who is Sinterklaas, and his elves, the goat-headed demons. And this is important to understand because the goat-headed mighty one is worshipped in the religion of Satanism and in pagan worship by the name Baphomet. He is also called the Horned One or the Stag Deity. Sometimes he is depicted with the horns of the goat, and sometimes he is depicted with the horns of the reindeer. In the 1970s, the Second Vatican Council stated that no Roman Catholic bishop by the name of Saint Nicholas ever existed. This is historical because people will often say, well, St. Nicholas was a real person, but the Second Vatican Council states no such person ever existed. They go on to state that the legends attributed to St. Nicholas had no Christian origin and probably came from pagan traditions. So therefore, the character known as Saint Nicholas is a myth. He is nothing more than a pagan deity who has been revamped and Christianized, just like Christianity has Christianized Christmas. The Oxford English Dictionary states the devil is called Satan, Lucifer, Beelzebub, and even in popular rustic speech, he is called Old Nick.
Way up north where the air gets cold, there's a tale about Christmas that you've all been told. And a really famous cat all dressed up in red, and he spends the whole year working out in his sled. It's the little Saint Nicholas, Saint Nick. It's the little Saint Nicholas, Saint Nick.
The Concise Dictionary of English Etymology also agrees that Nick is the devil. Old Nick was a well-known British name for Satan. The Greek name Nicholas means the conqueror of the people. Revelation chapter 2 verse 15 reads, "So you also have those who adhere to the teaching of the Nicolaitans or the Nicolaitans, which teaching I hate." The teaching of the Nicolaitans came from their teacher Nicholas, who taught them that it was okay to eat food sacrificed to idols and to commit whoring to make the children of Israel stumble. This is most likely the origin of the saint called Nicholas of the Roman Catholic Church. In the 1600s, a series of plays were developed starring a character known as Robin Goodfellow, who was a half-man, half-goat demon. In the History of a Hobgoblin, author Alan W. Wright reveals that Robin itself was a medieval name for the devil, and that Robin's trademark laugh was ho, ho, ho. During the 1600s, this goat-headed devil had already revealed the trademark laugh that Santa Claus would later take on.
Merry Christmas to all, and to all a good night. Ho, ho, ho.
In Scandinavia, the winter festival was Yule. In the Chaldean language, Yule means the infant, the child, referring to the baby Tammuz. Apparently, the Scandinavians borrowed the term for their winter festival. On December 21st, Odin, who was the chief deity, would fly through the night on his 8-legged horse, which would symbolize the 8 reindeer of Santa Claus. Odin was represented as an ancient man with a long white beard. His idols portray him with a pointy hat, like the elves and Santa Claus wear. People feared the wrath of Odin, who had come to take the spirits of the dead. They would leave treats and grain offerings for Odin and his horse. Spirits would roam freely during this time of the year, and the worshippers would try to communicate with these spirits. Evergreen trees would be brought inside to represent eternal life and the conquering of death of the sun deity. Mistletoe was revered by the Druids. Mistletoe has no roots in the ground, therefore it is seen as a gift from the heavens. On the 6th day of the moon, the Druids would cut the sacred mistletoe with a golden sickle, which was caught with sheets by priests beneath and not to be touched with human hands. Germanics believed that all who passed beneath a mistletoe were kissed by Freya, the goddess of fertility, and were blessed with sexual powers. During this time of the year, it is believed that the horned deity, the stag deity, would return to the earth, who is symbolized as Pan in the ancient Greco-Roman pantheon. In Scandinavia today, the Santa is still a goblin, and this is seen as the dark time of the year. To celebrate Yule, one must deck the halls with boughs of holly and bring evergreens into the home. And they had to bring a large log into the home that they would burn for 12 days. This is where the 12 days of Christmas comes from. It had to be kindled with a piece of the log that came from the year before. And this was to keep the ancestral spirits happy, who were believed to live within the fire. Therefore, the fire was kept burning with offerings of food and sacrifice. Originally, the sacrifice was made of humans and animals. The World Book Encyclopedia states the belief that Santa comes down through the chimney developed from an old Norse legend. The Norse believed that the goddess Hertha appeared in the fireplace and brought good luck to the home. It continues that Druids worshipped a deity named Hertha. Druid homeowners would leave a treat consisting of milk and pastries to appease this deity that came down into their chimney, into their fireplace. And this is where the idea of leaving milk and cookies out for Santa Claus originates.
And remember, the obelisk represents an antennae, so harvesting energy for the conjuring up of this. And you know, this has been the ultimate goal all through these many centuries and centuries since Babylon. The ultimate goal has been to do this, piercing the firmament, the Tower of Babel. We shall be like God. This is the ultimate goal of the mystery schools. So what you're seeing here is a masquerade as Christianity. And that obelisk represents the phallic with the circumcision of ancient Egypt. The false circumcision, the synagogue of Satan. Technically those who say they are Christians but do lie. Because this is all part of the ancient mystery schools of Babylon. It goes back to Babylon and Egypt. What does the Bible tell us about those? I'm sorry to say, but there's really nothing else to it. This whole place is a giant keyhole. Freemasonry, Illuminati, Enlightenment, all of that. Essentially Gnostic religion, which is and Babylon, which is clearly against God, clearly against Christ, Antichrist. This is the fundamental truth to what all of this is representing and leading towards.
God help us all.
In 1954, we awakened something.
You have no idea what's coming.
Democritus was the first philosopher who had an atomic theory. He said that the human soul should capture the essence of things and thereby attain a cheerful, serene mood. He called it euthymia, the highest good of man. The modern scientists pioneering a new era at the beginning of the 21st century. The ingredients of the new era are discoveries in atomic physics, political crisis, change and transition, based on the endless curiosity of man on the threshold of further discoveries. The most powerful particle accelerator, the Large Hadron Collider, was built there to find the Higgs boson, the elusive particle that is there to give all known particles their mass. Latest technologies, scientific monster machines, and a journey beyond the physical world known to us. Latest technologies.
I want to talk to somebody in charge.
Latest technologies.
I want to talk to somebody.
Scientific monster machines.
You are not anybody.
What is it you are seeking?
The journey beyond the physical world. The journey beyond the physical world known to us.
You're lying.
What is it you are seeking?
I want the power to destroy my enemies and save my family. Power to destroy my enemies. Power to destroy my enemies.
We awakened something. We awakened something.
Latest technologies, scientific monster machines, and a journey beyond the physical world known to us.
What is it you are seeking?
I want the power to destroy my enemies and save my family.
The arrogance.
Came from the Vatican for this Canaanite idol to be put on display in Rome. Now we are getting somewhere. The Vatican allegedly approve a god that requires a child sacrifice. Let that sink in. Now we see where we are going. These people are grooming you to accept right, to accept these ancient God and these ancient practices. They are trying to bring back the old ways. They are trying to bring back the old gods, and they are making sure that you are well groomed to do the things that they used to do. That is what is happening right here. So pedophilia was rampant, so they are making certain that you are well groomed into accepting the fact that you can hand over your child to a pervert to have relation with, because they're working on it. Now they're working on the fact that you should hand over your children willingly, right, for child blood sacrifice. How cruel can you get? How cruel can you get? And this Moloch statue is affiliated allegedly with the Vatican, and that is not a good affiliation you want as a religious organization of that magnitude. It says a lot about them and what they stand for. If you're going to have an exhibition about Rome's history and about ancient civilization, you could have put a small statue in a museum for people to visit. Why put a life-size statue at the entrance of the Colosseum where thousands of Christians lost their life? Why would you do that? Now you see what these people stand for. They know that they're opening the portal and these ancient gods are coming out. So they are grooming you to accept them and to fall in line. They are grooming you to do these abominations. Things that will sin against the Most High, they are grooming you to do. But if you are not awake to the devil's devices, you will get caught out there. Regardless of which religion you're a part of, you need to get the information and know what is happening. These people are grooming you, right, to accept these abominations. There is no need for a life-size Moloch statue at the entrance of the Colosseum. You could put a statue in a museum, a nice small one, and sit and tell people what this statue is all about, instead of having this huge abomination in Rome where thousands of people visit the Colosseum. That's a slap in the face, and that is blatant disrespect. And if the Vatican is a part of it, people open your eyes and know who you are worshipping and who you are affiliating with. As I say, pray for our children and glory be to the Most High.